Hello there and welcome to another episode of the BQ. Today I have the pleasure of speaking to the Managing Director of the Edcl. Yes, you want to know what the Edcl is? Mr. Emmanuel Kamanzi is here to give us more on that. Thank you very much, sir, for making time to be with us and welcome to our program.
Thank you, sir.
The very first question that we got from our viewers was, what's the difference between REG, EUCL and Edcl? What are their mandates? Where do you separate yourselves?
Thank you. Yes, I agree. Many Rwandans or people living in Rwanda or abroad, I think it is still a challenge for them to understand what come out of EWASA. Normally it was separated into two companies. That is the WASAC in charge of water and sanitation, and then REG, which is Rwanda Energy Group, in charge of energy. In REG also, we had also to have a separate took separate companies, mainly because we found the issue that was in EWASA was not to know or too much work on one head. And the separation was to make sure that there is a development part, and also there is the utility part. The utility means sales of electricity, but not only sales, but also includes maintenance of the system that are already in place. So that's how the two companies came in, and we have today under REG Holding, we have the utility company, which is EUCL, and then it is in charge of maintaining the power systems, the transmission line, the distribution lines, and also it sells electricity to the clients. And then there is another arm, which is Edcl, which I'm in charge of, which is in charge of development. So we deal with the development of new systems, both plants, transmission lines, and taking the new areas where there is no electricity to let people have connected to the grid or connected using other sources of energy. So that is a demarcation of the responsibilities. However, the REG Holding remains with the role of management of the two companies, as well as the coordination of the energy business.
Okay, interesting. Now, one John says, back probably in 2014 is when the company was privatized. But how private is REG? How private is your company?
REG and its subsidiaries are regular private companies and operating as private companies. So apart from having only one shareholder, who is the government, but the companies are under the company law. So since 2014, through the reform process, we are private companies.
That's interesting because John still says, now, despite being private, do we see you venturing into the capital markets? Do we see you selling shares to other private companies besides the government?
Selling shares, I think it will come soon. But we need to work on the situation where we need to have at least company be profitable, and only that we can be able to go to the stock exchange. That's the mandate of the company, and this is what we are working towards. We still have a lot to do. We are working to see that we have a cost-effective tariff that informs the profitability of the company, and we need first to get rid of government subsidies. Those are the elements that are still heavy on the government side, but are heavy also to the company when you want to do a profitable business. So it's the objective of the company to be on the stock exchange market, but also we have to look at how long will it take with the challenges we have on the table.
That's the thing. How long do you think it will take? Because look at it this way, you are selling electricity at a very low cost compared to how much you're buying it from. So where do you balance it out?
Yes, this is what I said. We are still having heavy subsidies from the government to make sure that our tariff is reasonable to the end user. But we are doing heavy investment. We are doing heavy investment in our systems, in our power systems, I mean power plants, so that we have a cheaper power. And the cheaper power will later reduce the cost of electricity, and at the end, our tariff will be cost effective. That means we will be able to graduate from subsidy from the government, and from there we can be able to make our profits, and then the company will be strong to be on the stock exchange.
Now, access to electricity remains low in some areas, especially in the rural areas. Now, Faith says there's a target to hit 70% by 2018. Where are we right now? Because I believe we're below 35, are we?
Yes, you almost there. We are at 34 today. That means we still have a long way to go. But we are also having innovations on the table. We are pushing hard on the grid-connected customers, but also with some challenges of investment required. But also we've got also another model of business or model of electrification that is off-grid using solar panels to the household connections. So this has increased rapidly in the last year, in this year, where we moved from around 1%, now we are around 5%, just within 7 months. We think with all initiatives on the table, with so many private companies involved, we see we are going to get there. Maybe not 100%, but a certain good percentage will be achieving the target.
So you believe solar panels and other ways of producing electricity could be the answer to you achieving this target?
Yes, when we talk of the grid connection, I think it takes time. It takes time because most of the equipments we are using are imported equipments. Materials, cables, and others are imported. But when you look at, and that takes longer time, but when you need a solar system, you need 2 to 3 weeks, wherever it is coming from, and it is here. Okay. And the good thing, they are within the region. You don't need to fly to America or Japan or wherever over the world. But I think so far we have got around 24 companies with some stocks in Kigali. That gives us a hope that these companies, as they are doing much, and the people are getting to know how they work, because initially they used to say solar is not electricity, but today I think people have seen that electricity is no longer only the grid, but also the off-grid systems also can serve.
But how cheap is this? Because another question is cost of connections is still very expensive. So when you're trying to connect it to the grid is expensive. Off-grid, what's the rate there?
I think it's relative. In fact, when they say the cost of connection is expensive, I say no. When you know exactly what it means in terms of what the government invests in that. Normally for a household to be connected, we need around 1,000 USD. But per household. But we only charge them around 56,000. That means the balance is paid by the government directly. So when you say it's expensive with 56,000 required, compared to 1,000 required for USD required for one connection, then it will not be a fair treatment. But again, when you compare with the off-grid, you find that the off-grid is not that expensive. Initially, it was very expensive when it started. You were 2 or 1 company we are working here, you find it's very expensive, 450,000. But today it's coming down to 90,000 and down. And another thing was people were not informed. Where a normal village person who just need lighting and charge a phone or a radio, just buy a system that needs a TV or something plus, and you just have power that is not being used. Why do you invest in that? Today we advise them according to their needs. You should buy the system that goes with your need, and that reduces price heavily. So they are getting much cheaper, and as more companies coming on board, as more competition is becoming tough, then we see the end user, our people will get the best services.
But do you have the technical know-how? Do you have people on ground who are trained now, who can be able to actually, maintain this kind of technology that is now coming into the country?
Yes, we have so many graduates from different TVET schools. We are training them, but also the companies that comes on board, we ask them to have their people trained. And you will find they are distributed to the sector level. And this system, nothing will happen normally for the next 3 years. The main challenge with this system will always be the battery replacement. It's as if the way we use our phones. the telephone always has no much problems, but when the battery gets old, then you start having some issues. So what we have is to have these companies, and we have agreement with them to make sure they maintain the systems. And they have to give the people the after-sale service so that they know where to buy this battery in case they become no more use.
Now, one Fred says, towards the end of the year, we had electricity problems.
Yeah.
Where people couldn't buy electricity. What was the issue? Did we have more electricity? Was there no electricity for the country? What was happening in this particular?
The good thing I would say today is that we have enough electricity to give to our customers. The main challenge we still have is power cuts because of the developments, road construction, accidents. They hit our systems, and there is power cuts here and there. The second is our system is not that strong. We are still trying to strengthen our network. That will bring some power cuts. Not wrong, but they will be there until we have our system stable. So at the end of the year, why was some failure to buy electricity was on new systems we are putting into our sales services. Because, you know, we used to have one mode of tariff. Everybody was buying at the same price, and this year, because like I said, our aim is to reduce on the tariff for the end user so that the development continues. We found that there are some poor people who always just need power for lighting, and they would have spent almost a year without buying electricity. We thought this social part we should look at. So we had to put people at a level who does not consume more than 15 kilowatt at around 86 or 82, if I remember well, francs per kilowatt hour. That was to be configured in our system. And then we have also industry that is buying at around 180 something cent, I mean 100 francs. Then we have as a general public that buys at around 192. Those schedule of tariff different. To introduce them into our system was a little bit a challenge to compute, and so that makes it difficult for us. But we had to stay up until we resolve the issue. And today I think there is no much problem.
So we can safely say that this is something that will not occur again.
No. It happened because it was just something we did. We did it as a pilot and tested. It was working well, but you never know. Technicalities always sometimes they become.
Let's talk about now the revamping of the infrastructure. How soon can we get to where we need to be? Because we are seeing trial and error, we are seeing trial and success, but then how soon can we say that, you know, we are ready? We have infrastructure that is good enough.
I think in energy we've done a good job. I think maybe people would judge, but the government has invested a lot. The government has done its responsibility, only that it requires time. For example, we've moved from, we are trying to have the biggest network size of 220 line that is going to connect Rwanda to Uganda, Kenya, Ethiopia, and then to Congo. This was already completed, but we have some stations that has not been completed. We are working on them today. We are constructing what we call Kigali Ring network. Normally our network was a kind of a radio. It's like 3 lines that meeting in one center, which is Kigali. If one line have a problem, all other lines are affected. Yes. So that's why we have invested in what we call Kigali Ring network that connects the 3 lines into one line. Means if one fails, the 2 will be able to resist the shock. The second is the 220 line. That is also going to be on a national level. If 110 fails, the 220 will remain to control the network. So we are seeing that if I look into the projection, we think in the next 2 we'll be able to have a stronger network. I can't say in the technical environment you will say nothing will happen. Very small things may happen, but as we are investing a lot in our transmission lines, as we are investing a lot in our generation systems, I think we shall have a bit better system. Everybody would say we have a network.
Well, we do take a short break, but when we come back, we keep talking to the Managing Director of the EDCL, Mr. Emmanuel Kamanzi, who says actually we might be having surplus energy in the country to keep it the PQ. Welcome back, and thank you very much for keeping it the big Q. We were talking electricity and energy in the country. Before we went for a break, you mentioned about the surplus of electricity. Many, I'm sure would say we do not agree with that, but kindly take us through how we have a surplus in the country, yet we have blackouts. Maybe that could be a technical side of it.
Yeah, maybe I said we may. I say we don't have much surplus. The surplus we have is maybe because of our network that is really not strong enough. However, depending on our demand, we can say we have some surplus during the day, where our demand during the day really is not high. It picks up around 5 when people start putting on their lights. So that tells us that our demand is not based on industry, which is the need for the energy sector. During the day, we have, I can say, almost half of the electricity is not being sold.
So you believe
during the day. So, but in the evening, yes, we see demand almost doubles. That means more big parties on the household level. And then that tells us that we need to do a lot on the industry part so that we can be sure that the energy sector is going to survive. Because if you have electricity without selling them, it's really bad.
My question would be basically, with all the industries, for example, we have 10, 15 industries in the countries today, more than what we have. Do you think they can be able to sustain with the energy that we have today in the country?
If I give you a picture, today there is enough power to supply the industry. And our plan, our projection, when you look at it, starting in the next 3 years, then I can start talking about really the surplus. If we are commissioning Rusumo, and we commission Hakan, 80 megawatt, I think there we will talk about really big surplus.
Maybe we don't understand the technical know-hows of maybe an industry. How many megawatts does it take to light up a house, a normal household, and probably an industry? For us to understand 80 megawatts could be more than,
I would just give you an example. Here at this hotel, the design is around 80 megawatt, the design of it. But normally they consume around 2 to 3 megawatt. That's the hotel itself. When you're talking of industry, we have big industries. We have industries like Semerwa that is designed to consume 14 megawatt. But normally they consume around 7 to 8 megawatt. So if I design according to the capacity of this house and is not consuming it, I have a surplus. And I cannot store it, and I'm losing money. So what we do is to try to go as the demand grows, rather than investing a lot in energy generation, and later you don't have the real demand. And that's why we said we need these kind of big consuming factories or industries. These are the one that leads the good planning of the energy sector. Rather than people plan to consume electricity, we plan the demand is there, is growing, and then we plan how do we satisfy our demand. That is the best way we would directly go.
Now, Rosemary says you appeared before Parliamentary Committee earlier this year to explain what went wrong with the National Domestic Biogas Program. What went wrong with this program?
I think nothing went wrong. The concept was probably not adapted in the proper way, because people thought the biogas is going to answer the energy needs of the home. Maybe it was not well discussed or out, because it normally depends on the waste and the size of the system. If you tell the local people that is going to get you from using charcoal, and they are always using charcoal when it is even there, it becomes misunderstanding or misinterpretation of the technology. Normally it covers around 30% of your energy need. But if you have enough waste and you have a bigger system, you can even sell or give to your neighbors. I can give you an example of well-performing sector that is doing well is the prisons, because they have many people in the prisons, so the waste is enough, and almost they are cutting above 60% of their energy needs using biogas. But when you go to schools where students will go home during the whole day, the systems are not well working because the waste is not enough. And the biogas system itself performs according to the way you maintain it, the way you feed it. So it has hit that kind of understanding, and many people think it is not working. But it's because they want it to work beyond what it can do. This is what we always teach and let people understand. But also not only biogas, technologies are coming and much more cheaper than even the biogas. The biogas, you need around almost 800,000 to have it at your home. And today we say, maybe why can't we use gas? So that people, you just buy a bottle at 12,000 or 16,000, and then you use it for a month, and you gradually continue using the gas, and you are free from charcoal. So there are so many technologies that are coming. As also we are talking about the demand, we want in the future when the tariff continue going down to have people start using electricity. So that's the area we think the demand can also grow. So we are looking at a number of options, but we think we will get there.
Of course, now I'd like you to mention some of the challenges that you go through, especially when it comes to safety. Do we still have people who tend to steal the cables, the electrical grids? They try to fix themselves.
I think I was not going to go out without saying so, because most of our power cuts originates from people who are stealing our systems. You see these equipments, metallic equipments, are needed everywhere in the construction, in these smelting companies. Then you find they are stealing copper, they are stealing these towers. A tower, when you remove almost 3, 4, 5 arms of it, then it collapses down. For example, the last time when we had a very challenging situation, people took most of the arms of the tower down here in Gishanga, and we had also 2 days without electricity in these sites of Remera and Kanombe. And to construct it, it takes time. It really takes time, because you need to do the civil works, you need to also to have the material to be used. So they are stealing our systems, and it's really one of the things that always brings in power cuts here and there. And we're always trying to work with different institutions, local government, but we see there is an improvement, but still have bad people who are
So do you need to do more sensitization so that people understand this actually helps more than, you know, stealing it?
The issue is those who are stealing it are not the ones that need even electricity. These are bad people in the society who always, but we think we need to work with, because they live with us. So we need to know these kind of people, where the business they are doing. And then that will help us to maintain our network and have more electricity reliable. So to me, I think education is good, but also we need to tell them it is a risk, because many really get hit and lose their lives because they tamper with electricity. So it's not one way. We are losing because we are losing electricity, but also we are losing lives of people because they are tampering with electricity.
Way forward, as you now tend to achieve, 2018 is just next year, just a few months from now. The way forward for the company, and you know, you mitigating most of the needs of the Rwandans, and at the same time meeting your challenges as we sum up.
I can say when you look our plans, both in getting access to people, getting the reliable power to the industry, I think we have a very good projections. Like I said, currently today, it's us who are running after other sectors, agriculture, industry. Please, you need to do a lot here, because we see in our plans we are going to be hit by a certain challenge. So for us, I can say in the next coming to end of EDPS 2, we will have really got some where we think we can be. For example, We don't say we will be having 563 that was targeted. That's why you say it depends also on the growth of the demand. But we are sure we'll be having enough power for people to
Less
use.
blackouts, I'm sure it's very good news.
No more blackouts, I think.
No more blackouts.
And in case it happens, we shouldn't exceed 5 minutes before we restore our network. So I think we are putting a lot in terms of the system, management system that is automated. We are putting a lot of extending our branches to be near the people. When something happens, intervention is that quick. So we are doing a lot of work, not only on system, but also on our own controls, so that whatever the government is investing, there is a return on it.
Well, thank you very much, sir, for making time.
Thank you very much, too.
Well, I was speaking to the Managing Director of the EDCL, Mr. Emmanuel Kamanzi, who says we are on the good side of electricity. We should not be scared. Blackouts could be minimal very soon, and that we are definitely on the right track. Do keep it the big Q, and of course, Rwanda Television.